the hell is an ancient, and I'm talking ancient, stone structure doing in the middle of Newport, Rhode Island? What is it? What was its purpose? When was it built? And more importantly, who built it?
Hi everyone, welcome to History on a Hog. I'm your host, Cap'n Boz. Well, it feels great to be back out on the bike and doing some riding. And I didn't waste any time in setting out on a long road trip and visit one of the weirdest and one of the oldest historical structures in America, the Newport Tower. It's long been a controversial historic anomaly, with the basic question of who built it still conclusively unanswered.
It sits strategically on the highest elevation near the entrance to a vast natural harbor in the northeast, Narragansett Bay. Today, we know this place as Newport, Rhode Island, one of the first and oldest English colonial towns on the East Coast, and one of the best scenic areas in the country in which to ride your motorcycle. The scenic shoreline road circles you back into the center of Newport and towards Toro Park, where the stone tower sits. The city of Newport has realized the importance of the tower, and it maintains this park and diligently preserves and protects this ancient stone structure.
So what is this stone thing? Is it a castle? A church? A lighthouse? Well, no one really knows for sure, but it's been here since the first Europeans settled the Newport area in the mid-1600s.
The structure stands on 8 legs, linked by arches, and all constructed from stones from the area that were carefully and masterfully cemented together. Holes in the stone seem to indicate that wooden beams were once used to create a second floor inside the building. The wood is long gone. Others have suggested that the holes line up with certain celestial bodies at certain times of the year, suggesting it may have been used as a calendar of some sort. The Knights Templar were known to use this type of calendar.
It has been thoroughly researched and examined by many archaeologists and historians over the last century, and most of them came to the conclusion that it is most likely the remains of a windmill built by early English colonists in the early 1600s, probably by a man named Benedict Arnold. Nope, not that Benedict Arnold, who was the traitor of the American Revolution, but instead, his grandfather.
It was actually his great-grandfather.
The tower is located at the upper end of the plot behind the now demolished mansion built by Benedict Arnold, the first colonial governor of Rhode Island.
And that he built it, as most tower historians will tell you, as a grist mill to grind his grain crops into flour. This is the prevailing theory.
But, and this is a big but, recently there's been a tremendous amount of speculation that it might actually be older, much older, like several centuries older than what was believed. And its age could prove that early medieval Europeans may have settled here centuries before Columbus discovered America. What proof is there? Well, for starters, in 1524, the Italian explorer Giovanni di Verrazzano was sent by the French king, Francis I, on an expedition to North America, with the purpose to find a shortcut to China. Verrazzano arrives initially in the New World, here in Florida, and then he proceeds north along the east coast of North America towards Long Island, and eventually becomes the first European to discover New York City Harbor and Manhattan. The Verrazano Bridge in New York City Harbor is named in honor of him. Anyways, Verrazano continues eastward along the southern coast of Long Island, and eventually he runs into the entrance of Narragansett Bay in present-day Rhode Island. In his expedition log, Verrazano recorded that his only extended stay on his voyage was at a site where a European stone tower was located, overlooking a massive bay.
The tower, he described, was built to the exact measurements of a Templar church, and he would mark and highlight this location on his expedition map, which he would later publish upon his return to France.
So, if he was the first European in the area, and he was the first to see the tower and record its location on the very first map ever made of the area, then the question becomes, who built it? Well, that's a damn good question. Over the last century, there's been a number of theories submitted by historians and archaeologists about who they think may have built the tower. And frankly, some of these theories are way out there. With this in mind, here's a list of possible groups who may have built it.
First, Native American tribes in the area. The architecture and building methods absolutely point to a European build. The native tribes did not build structures in this way, so they are out. Second, Irish Celtic monks. Yep, the Irish. There is a possibility that the tower was built by Irish Celtic monks who were known to mount expeditions out towards Iceland and the Orkney Islands beginning around 800 AD. One theory purports that one of these monk expeditions was blown off course by a bad Atlantic storm, and the expedition boats were deposited onto the shores of present-day Rhode Island. Supporting this theory are claims by some that several stone structures have been found in the Northeast, like the American Stonehenge in New Hampshire, that have Irish Celtic styles to them. So perhaps some Irish monks did make it to America, even before the Vikings. But there is little evidence of this, mostly speculation, and very little hard evidence to support this theory.
Third, the Vikings. And I think this is a very strong probable theory. They could have built a church around the year 1000. Really? Yes. Remember, Viking ruin stones have been discovered from Newfoundland all the way down to Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard. So, we know the Vikings were here. And having a Viking structure inside Narragansett Bay was quite possible.
The Danish secretary of the Royal Society of Northern Antiquities, Carl Raffen, claimed in 1830 that the Newport Tower was built by Norse Vikings sometime between 1112 and 1121 AD. I personally think there is a strong possibility that this theory could be correct.
Fourth, could it have been the Chinese? Yes, the Chinese. There are some historians who claim that the tower was built by a colony of Chinese sailors who were part of a great Chinese voyage in 1421, led by the Chinese admiral Zhou Wen. These historians believe that this expedition somehow made it from the Pacific to the Atlantic, going around Africa and making it up to Florida. Then they proceeded up the East Coast, up to here in New England, and then into Narragansett Bay.
The Chinese fleet supposedly landed in Newport to restock their food and water supplies. And given the importance of this place where abundant food and water supplies were discovered, Admiral Wen ordered the building of a stone lighthouse to be used as a prominent landmark and built similar in a style of lighthouses that were found in southern China during the early 15th century. So the story goes. But before you dismiss this theory as way out there and far-fetched, some interesting and recent Chinese archaeological finds in North America has given some credence that the Chinese may have indeed made it to America in the early 1400s. So don't discount this theory. But the architecture of the stone structure is clearly European in design, so it is highly doubtful that the Chinese would have built it.
The fifth theory, and my personal favorite, is that this structure was built by a remnant order of the Knights Templar in the late 1300s or early 1400s. But why? Well, some speculate that it was to hide something of great value to them. Items including the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, and the vast Templar treasure. And this place in North America was not on any European maps of the time.
If you watched my very first History on a Hog series, the Westford Knight, you may have remembered that I reviewed the history of the Knights Templar and how their treasure and very important Christian religious icons disappeared after the Templar Order was brutally disbanded in 1307 by the French king and the Roman Catholic Pope. The surviving Templars moved and hid the treasure in southern Europe for a time, trying to stay one step ahead of the French king and his henchmen. A Templar fleet of ships was known to have departed La Rochelle, France in 1312 with the treasure on board and was last seen sailing westward, out to sea. It was never heard from or seen again. Could the destination of this fleet have been North America?
At this time in history, North America had not yet been officially discovered by the Europeans. However, the Templars were known to have intimate knowledge of the existence of North America through old Viking stories and maps. Therefore, North America would have been an ideal destination for the Templars to hide the Templar treasure, if you wanted to hide it from the French king and the Pope, who were desperately seeking it. And although the Newport Tower may look simple in its construct, it would have been incredibly difficult for even the most skilled builders of the day to construct it. The Knights Templar had the reputation of being great architects, builders, and masons, and they were known to have built many other round churches all over Europe that included many of the same features that we see in the Newport Tower.
And if you're a fan of the cable TV show The Curse of Oak Island on the History Channel, you'll know that one of the theories that the Lagina brothers are pursuing is that the money pit on Oak Island may have been built by the Templars around the year 1300, nearly 200 years before Columbus discovers America. Discovered Templar artifacts and carved symbols in the rocks on Oak Island in Nova Scotia are some tangible proofs of this theory. Templar symbols are everywhere in this area, extremely numerous. So, in my opinion, it's possible that the Templars were aware of North America and voyaged to Oak Island, and could have possibly traveled further south of Oak Island along the coast, south to Narragansett Bay and Newport. And I'm still not done telling you about all the who built it theory. When you come back for part 2 and the conclusion of the Newport Tower mystery, I'll describe the remaining theories about who may have built the tower, including learning from a tower expert of a new theory that I had never heard about. So make sure you come back for part 2. See you next time. on History on a Hawk.